Wednesday's matches combined didn't have as many goals as Man City managed to score on their own, but they were certainly entertaining in their own right. We'll get through all of the reasons why as we break down and analyze Salzburg's impressive draw with Bayern. I don't like something about Bayern. You'll see. And Liverpool teaching Inter a lesson in finishing your chances. Inter burned by that big time. So let's go. As we spoke about in the preview to this match, this matchup is almost like a derby. The proximity of the two clubs, despite, a border between them, of course, is really close, just about an hour and a half away from each other. My man Manuel, Unsackable Podcast, shout out, who's from Munich, spoke of the cultural similarities between, Bavarians and the people of Salzburg. So this had a unique feel to it. The German champions versus the Austrian champions. When you look at the respective team sheets, even with Bayern missing some players, you'd expect them to boss this match, right? However, there's notable people missing, like Manuel Neuer's missing. This absolutely creates an imbalance in their defense, and you saw it at times today with balls played into the space behind the center backs in particular. At times it felt like the defenders didn't know whether they should be going for it or if Neuer would come crashing out of his goal to cut it off. But Neuer's not there, and this is no criticism of Ulrich, really, but they are just completely different keepers, although Ulrich, to his credit, did come out and cut off a few passes. Where Manuel Neuer is comfortable running the length of the pitch to cut off a pass, I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but still, where he would do that, Ulrich doesn't do that, at least as far. And these moments of indecision can breed opportunity for their opponents, that extra moment to get a step on the defender. Another thing I question, I know Nagelsmann has played with this sort of shape before this season, in a sort of 3-4-1-2. It hasn't been as airtight recently though. Against Leipzig, they conceded 2 in a 3-2 win. Against Hertha, they conceded 1. Against Mainz, they conceded 1. Against Dortmund, they conceded 2. They lost to Augsburg, of all teams, with a back 3. Conceded 2 against Köln, etc. Of the 10 times they've used this shape, they've kept 1 clean sheet. And that was back in October. That said, I wonder if Nagelsmann thought there were just far too many gaps that Bochum was able to play through on the weekend, and that this back 3 would add further solidity. But the problem is, Coman and Gnabry aren't really playing as wing backs. So a well-managed team like RB Salzburg can exploit that. And the wide spaces, as you can see here from the average positions of the attackers, are where Salzburg would find a lot of joy. A surging run forward from Adeyemi is what led to the opener, and Bayern caught in transition was their downfall. I don't know, man. I just found that with this shape, there was too big of a gap to exploit once Bayern had gone forward, as the central midfielders weren't getting back fast enough, and then the defense would be at 6s and 7s. But yeah, Adeyemi surged forward, played a ball that Aronson touched on to Adamu, and he curled one past Ulrich. Adamu, by the way, came on for Okafor, who was injured early on. Minutes later, we had the same situation, as you can see right here. So much space with Coman forward and the central midfielders lagging to get back, and Aronson ended up with a great opportunity again. How did this come about? Bayern committing forward, Salzburg winning possession, passing into space, and they were on their way. This was largely how the match played out, and in the second half, Bayern looked much better in the press, and eventually, through undoubtedly Bayern's best attacker on the night, Coman, they found their way through Salzburg's defense. Bayern were made to work for it, however, and it was a very, very route one goal. Diagonal ball into the box by Süle, flicked on by Müller, and Coman creeped in at the back post to convert, completely unmarked. A rare lapse from Salzburg's defense, but a team like Bayern will take advantage of those lapses. So 1-1 the final, and without the away goals rule, it's as if this match never happened. But hey, Bayern will have to be much, much better in the second leg, and it'll be interesting to see if Nagelsmann will stick to his guns formation-wise or collapse back to the 4-2-3-1 that won Bayern so many matches and trophies over the years. Regardless, this is the best time to face Bayern. They're out of sorts, and unfortunately for Salzburg, they won't face them again until March 8th, which, things could change drastically by then. Alphonso Davies could be back, so we'll see. Inter had been a little bit out of sorts themselves coming into this one, and without Nicolo Barella in the midfield, you aren't really seeing the best of Inter, are you? However, I think a great surprise was seeing Bastoni back in the squad, well, in the starting 11 actually, as the injury he sustained against Roma looked like it could have been a bad one. Evidently not, as he played a full 91 minutes in this match before he got subbed late. As for Liverpool, all good, all of the people you'd expect in all of the positions you'd expect. Can I be more vague? It was a full strength Liverpool. Let's just put it that way. First of all, the theme of this match was Inter not taking their chances, as I said in the intro. And I'm not only speaking in a finishing sense, as we spoke about ad nauseum during the watch along, the live stream, was how many times Inter failed to connect the final ball, whether it be from a wide position, whether it be a cutback, whatever it was, they were only finding Liverpool legs. But we'll get to that a little bit later, as Liverpool started this match well. And were smothering Inter at times with Klopp's trademark counter-pressing. And it was indeed Inter who had the first opportunity, as Çalhanoğlu collected a ball from Perisic, and his strike went off of the bar, so close to a goal in the 15th minute. And that was always going to be a threat, wasn't it? With the width that Inter play with, they were drawing Liverpool's fullbacks out wide, while the likes of Çalhanoğlu or even Vidal would try to make runs into the half spaces between the center backs and the fullbacks. But as I said earlier, it was the final ball that was the issue, not the movement. For example, in the second half, Inter started incredibly well, and they were doing a great job of playing down the right, for example, before making a massive switch of play to Perisic, who had a ton of room on the left to operate in. Or how many times did we see Dzeko attacking that space between Konate and where Alexander-Arnold would have been, but it was vacated as he was pushing up the pitch, joining the attack. But again, only for Inter to be wasteful with the final ball. It felt like so many opportunities for Dzeko and Perisic, especially down the left, as that was their focal point for the attack, I think. But Dzeko would try to play a lofted ball for Lautaro to attack that at the far post, and that would go begging. Or a squared ball that would bounce off of Konate. There were opportunities for Inter, but whether through a poor finish, 0 shots on target by the way, or a poor final ball, they didn't take any of them. As for Liverpool, their opportunities naturally came from winning the ball further up the pitch, as Inter were at times their own worst enemy when they were trying to play it out of the back. The ferocity of the counter press seemed to rattle them a little bit from time to time, especially in the second half, in the last 30 minutes or so, as it seemed as though Inter were maybe starting to fatigue a bit. And once Klopp had made a triple substitution to bring on Henderson, Keita, and Luis Diaz, the game got away from Inter pretty quickly. Henderson and Keita finally brought some control to the midfield for Liverpool, something that they were lacking a little bit. Well, Luis Diaz is just a nightmare for defenders, isn't he? He makes clever runs in behind. He can beat you in one-on-one situations. If you have a foot race with him, you're likely going to get cooked. He can hurt you in so many ways, and he almost did when combining with Alexander-Arnold, but Skriniar did get a nice little block in there. But anyway, later on, Liverpool's goal kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Driven corner to the near post that Firmino just glanced perfectly across the face of goal and in. And from there, Liverpool took control to close things out, including Salah's deflected goal to make it 2 and kill things off. So ultimately, Inter played well for the most part, but a chance not taken is basically a chance given to your opponent. And when your opponent is Liverpool, just look to their record this season in the Champions League, in the Premier League. 6 wins from 6 in the Champions League alone, one of the most dangerous attacks in the world, and a deep squad that can add new dimensions to that attack just through their substitutions. That was the difference maker. When Klopp brought on Henderson, Firmino, Keita, and Luis Diaz after 60 minutes, that's a luxury not many clubs have. And then to bring on the great James Milner on top of that, that's just rubbing salt in the wounds, man. But in all seriousness, Inzaghi's thin squad, what with injuries and suspensions, was on display. Bringing on Gagliardini and Ranocchia, with all due respect, that's not exactly ideal, especially when compared to Liverpool's subs. So again, no away goals, thank goodness for Inter, as they still have a chance, but going to Anfield will be difficult. Look to Atleti for inspiration, I guess. Not this season's Atleti. 2 years ago, of course. Speaking of Atleti, I may have a video on them out tomorrow. I may not. You'll have to live in suspense for 24 hours. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming by. You are absolutely appreciated, and we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe.